I can't change you. I can barely change me. It's been a lifelong process, and so far I'm changing slowly and very, very little at a time. But you can change you. You're the only person who can change you. We always look at relationships, for instance. We always think, oh, it's about the other person. It's not about the other person. It's about you. You can't change somebody else. You can't change your partner. You can't change your business partner. You can't change your life partner, or your wife, or your spouse, or anybody around you. You can't change. You can only change yourself. But as you change yourself, and this is important to know, as you change yourself, everybody around you will change also. Everybody around, people come to me and say, well, I don't understand what happened. And all of a sudden, my business partner is really starting to work harder. I said, well, what did you do? Well, nothing, except I just didn't think they were going to do it. So I started working harder, and I started showing up for work on time and doing all these things. And suddenly he did too. And I said, well, isn't that funny? I mean, by you changing you, you change the world. And slowly, whether it's just on a one-on-one level, or in your own family, or in your business, or in your community, people will change, and you will have this impact, and you will become the leader that I was talking about earlier. That's what leadership is you being willing to work, first of all, lead your own life, and then you can lead other people. You will automatically be leading other people. There is no wrong idea. People bring this up all the time. They go, I'm afraid I'm going to make a mistake. In other words, I'm afraid I'm going to do it wrong. I'm afraid I'm going to make a mistake, and I'm going to never have a chance to make things right or to succeed. The truth is, you can't make a mistake. It's like a lot of people say, well, it feels like I'm going backwards. Well, have you ever pulled into a parking lot at a shopping center? You have to back the car up in order to go forward. You back out of the parking space to make forward motion. And that's often what we're doing in life, is we're self-correcting. We're backing out of the space so we can go forward. And so sometimes things feel like we've made a mistake, or that we made a wrong choice, or that we did things wrong. But very often it's not that. It's just that we are consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously, or the universe, or whatever, God is putting us in a position where we have to back up something to learn something, or to get that next piece so that we can then go forward. So confidence is an interesting thing. Confidence is what I would call an attribute. It's one of those things, and there's probably dozens of them, but there's probably 8 or 10 that I think of quickly and that I very often teach about, that are attributes, and confidence is one of them. I can't say, okay, here's confidence. Take this confidence, now you're going to be confident. It doesn't work that way. We build confidence. In fact, most of those attributes have that kind of a time-related word, like we develop it, we build it, we generate it, we grow it. So confidence is one of those things that we gain over time, and we gain it by small steps and bigger steps. So it's like how we raise our children. We don't say, okay, I want you to start going to high school now. In other words, they go to preschool, then they go to kindergarten, then they go to first grade, and they're building their confidence about their educational system and how they participate in and what they're capable of doing, and their confidence goes up and up and up as a result. We all did that all the time. The problem is, everybody wants a different result in some aspect of their life. Most people don't have the courage, let's call it confidence, to change and do something differently, and so they wind up getting that same result. Until we're willing to change something and have that confidence to do something different, very, very hard to generate a different result in our life. It's a cause and effect. So if you want a different effect, you have to cause something to be different in the initial stages of it. And so confidence is something that I encourage people, the clients of mine, as I work with people, if you don't have the courage to change something big, change something small. Do one little thing that may be very difficult for you. Somebody else might look at it and say, well, that you hardly did anything. But if it was challenging for you and a confidence builder, go change one thing and build your confidence in one small area, and you'll find it's easier to go from that step to the next step and the next step. So if you ask me, I mean, I believe that first of all, I'm a spiritual being. I believe that I am made in the image of God. I believe you are too. I think we all, as human beings, we're all different aspects of God's energy. And so if that's the case, then obviously that's the most important. What we're doing in our physical bodies on this planet at this time is learning certain lessons, evolving, growing ourselves, and growing that spiritual who we are. And so in learning how to use that, learning how to interact with other people, learning how to interact with other expressions of God. And so if you ask me, my opinion, there's a total opinionette, my opinion is that the spiritual aspects are most important. If you do things that are in line with your spirit, you will succeed. You may not make tons of money, but you will be following your passion. You'll be very fulfilled. It'll be very rewarding. It may feel like you're in a hole, but you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And sometimes we have to go down in that hole to kind of recognize, okay, I need to change something. Something needs to change. I need to do some work on me. I need to make a difference. I mean, to change something to get a different result. And sometimes we don't recognize that until we're down in what feels like a hole. It's like the car backing up. Again, we have to do that in order to go forward. And so the way you change, and if you recognize that, hey, I'm really strong here, here, and here, but I'm really weak here and here, then we do one of two things. Either you focus your attention on these areas, these two areas where you're weak, and you automatically will grow and develop those areas. Whether you intentionally do something specific or not, focusing your attention on them alone causes them to get stronger and be in the spotlight more. And so you will automatically change things about those things, and they will grow up. Hire the people that you're not. If it's a business application, that's great. If it's you trying to be a complete being, then you may need to say, instead, I'm not going to hire someone to be this and this that I'm not. I'm going to instead focus my attention on becoming more there. So let's say that you're very successful in business and you're making a lot of money, but you see that in the process of working so hard on your business, you neglected your personal health, and you ate fast food for the last 2 years. And you say, hey, I need to do something differently there. Absolutely. Focus your attention on that and bring it back into balance. Very often, people who are real strong in one area and weak in another area, it's because they're just not in balance. The reality is, it's safer for us to not change anything. Even though we may be miserable where we are, it's our misery. We know that misery. It's a defined misery. And if we change something, we're liable to become more miserable. We're liable to get into a different, deeper kind of misery. Our imagination runs wild with us about all the things that could go wrong more than all the things that could go right. And so this fear of change is huge. Real quickly, while we're talking about fear of change, fear is always about unanswered questions. So if you had the answers to your questions, like if you said, I'm afraid to start a business. I hear this all the time. I'm afraid to invest in my own business. You may have questions about it that if you got those questions answered, the fear goes away. Fear is always about unanswered questions. So a question related to that might be, well, how could you assure your financial success in business? How could you make sure that the money you invested was always going to be guaranteed or backed up? How could you invest without taking risk of financial capital? Or whatever the fears are that you have, what are the questions you have, and who can answer those questions, and the fear will automatically go down. The scariest things we do are also the most exciting. We want to do them, but they're also the scariest things. So fear of change is one of our biggest fears because, most of our being wants us to stay the same, wants us to protect us and keep us out of risk and away from the edge of the canyon. And so we don't go near the edge of the canyon. And so it's very important for us to recognize that if it's fear-based, there's always questions that can be answered to overcome that fear, to reduce the fear enough for us to take on the challenge or the change. Challenge and change won't show up for you if you're not ready for it, which is a critical piece. People think, oh, I'm not ready for this. Well, you know what? It wouldn't have showed up for you if you weren't. And I'm not saying it will be easy for you, and I'm not saying that you have all the answers right now. I'm saying there's a process that's available to you because that showed up for you. And whether it's about relationship or about business or about money or about health, whatever it is, that's showing up for you for a purpose, and you've actually attracted it. The same future formula attracted that opportunity for you to grow and develop in that area the same way you intentionally attract good things in your life. You don't get a different result unless you change. End of story.